let's see. I'm just gonna make sure that all this is blasted out on social. All right. All right. Well, hey, thanks for hopping on the stream today. I appreciate you, joining for a conversation about esports, health and wellness, just performance in general. So, first off, let's talk a little about you. How long have you been playing League? What's your background, and kind of where are you now?
Yeah, so I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm Hyami. I've been playing League since season 4 or 5, so like 6 years at least now.
Wow,
So it's been a while. And I started playing at a challenger level around 2 years ago in 2019, and I've been like challenger ever since, basically.
that's great. So it took you 2 years to get to Challenger.
Oh, it took me a bit more than that. It took me like three, four
3 years.
years. Wait,
Okay.
let
Okay.
me look.
What, what,
It took
what,
a
what
while.
what was your first year? Where were you at?
In season 4, I played placements and I placed like silver 4 or something. Like
Okay.
that's all I did.
Okay. So I mean it's always interesting for me to talk to pros, just to hear like kind of the climb that they've made versus me. I assume I'm fairly typical. I
Yeah.
started in silver and I've been silver ever since.
hmm
But I'm improving. I feel like this is my season to hit gold. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I mean, always
it's
improving.
yeah, that's the thing. And in chats with other people, I think one of the hardest things about League specifically as a game to get better at is that it's constantly changing, right? Like the meta
Yeah.
changes, the champions change, they change the entire map.
Yeah.
How do you kind of stay on top of that kind of stuff?
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to like put in the time.
Yeah,
Like you have to just play the games, you have to learn, and you have to like look at the numbers of the new patches and things like that. And you just have to always work harder than the next person, basically.
I
Because
see.
if you're working the hardest, you're gonna get the best results.
That makes sense. And then, so when you say hard work, what does that entail besides obviously playing solo queue and practicing like that?
I mean, for me, there's the team environment as well. So like the scrims, showing up on match days, like always bringing the most to VOD reviews and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, how long have you been playing on a team?
It's been a while. I think it was since end of 2016, end of 2017 maybe.
Okay.
I've been playing on random amateur and collegiate teams, and yeah,
That's
I
great.
mean, I've played on like low tier collegiate teams, and I've also played on like pretty good amateur teams, so I have a pretty wide range of experience at this point.
Yeah, you're on a pretty good team right now, right? I saw you guys are doing pretty well in
Yeah,
the amateur circuit. So, the goal is proving grounds.
absolutely. We should qualify for the tier 1 tournaments. So
Nice, nice. Okay, well, good luck. I know that. I mean, and so I work with a lot of LCS pros, a lot of academy teams, and
yeah,
one of the things that they've said is that the upward climb is so steep. Like the drop off between LCS and academy is massive, and then academy to amateur, it's like just really difficult to make it up there. So, if you're trying to make it to LCS, right, is the goal eventually, or LEC.
yeah, absolutely.
If that's the goal, how do you make that next transition to, obviously you get to proving grounds and all that, but even then it's not like your whole team gets picked up. It's one or two players, right?
Yeah.
So how does that factor in, and what does that mean in terms of his practice schedule?
I mean, in terms of like what I do, I basically have to stand out from the others. Like both in my own team, I have to look like a good player and look like I belong with like the results that I want. And then compared to other junglers, for me, I have to also perform. So I
Right.
have to do like better pathing. Like I just have to work harder. At the end of the day, all
Yeah.
to come back to the work you put in.
Sure. And then with VOD review to improve, I think especially in jungle, it's really noticeable when a jungler is better than the other jungler. I think it's very
Yep.
apparent because of the amount of map pressure you can exert, the amount of like their resources you can take away. I've tried jungling in the past, and I find it to be one of the hardest roles to actually master because the variables are so immense. You're not just locked into your one lane. It's like all these other variables at play. So, did you always play jungle when you first started?
Basically, I played mid lane maybe like half of my first season, and then I went to jungle.
Okay. What do you like most about that role?
I mean, for me, as soon as Rek'Sai got released, so it was like again end of 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
I basically just one-tricked Rek'Sai, and that's what I was best at. So I just kept going with it until I
Yeah.
was like Diamond 5, and at that point, I mean, I was just a jungler. I was committed.
That's awesome. And I think Rek'Sai is actually a really fun champ. The
Yeah, she
pathing you
is.
can take is just completely all over the place. You can go through
Yeah.
walls, all that stuff. So that's really cool. And unfortunately, she's not really in the meta right now. But do you?
Yeah, she definitely sucks right now, but it's a fun champion though.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever still pull it out just in solo queue if you're like feeling like?
Here and there, but like it's really bad this season,
Mm,
so not really.
okay,
But
so
I've
I
tried.
mean, you're still playing all the meta champs that right now, like Talia, Olaf, like.
Yeah, Talia, Olaf, Lilia, like
Mhm.
all that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. And then so I guess let's talk a little bit about your schedule. So as
Yeah.
a pro player, you're on a team that is obviously professional, but is different than some of the LCS teams where they have the house or the organizational center. What does your day to day look like with your team?
In terms of team practice, we usually have like a meeting half an hour or an hour before scrims,
Hmm.
and then 3 hours of scrims and maybe a review after. So
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's like at least 3 to 5 hours every day of commitment.
That schedule actually sounds fairly similar to what a lot of the LCS teams do. They have scrim blocks
Yeah.
from in the afternoon and then the film review after. Are you guys at the same location or do you do all of this online?
No, we're all online for our team,
I see.
but we can still do the same thing, right? We can
Yeah.
still pop up about review, play the game. So I mean,
Yeah.
we do what we have to.
Yeah, yeah. And then, have you been playing with these players very long, or is it kind of like this is a new team for you? And
For Mirage, I joined, I mean, 2 weeks ago at this point, I think. But I have experience with all the players previously.
yeah,
Like Dragoon, I played on Mirage with previously. DNA, I played a LAN with
okay.
earlier last year. And then Brendan and Trevor, I've played with on Mirage as well. I
Hmm.
think it was SGC of 2018 or
Okay.
2019.
And then obviously with high elo solo queue, you see a lot of these people regardless, like
Yeah, I've
online,
played
and
with them a lot.
yeah,
I've talked to them. Yeah,
it's a small community at the higher levels.
yeah, absolutely. Everyone knows each other.
Yeah, that's great. So like, what? Let's talk about your schedule a little bit going forward. Obviously, you guys are doing
Mhm.
really well. What's the plan in terms of tournament schedule, and then how do you get into proving grounds for maybe people who aren't as informed on
Yeah,
that?
so there were three tier two tournaments: Risen, which was played the earliest;
Hmm.
Big, which just finished today actually;
Hmm.
and then Cup, which is starting tomorrow. And basically, for us at this point, we have to make playoffs of Cup to have a good seed for the tier one tournaments after.
Got it. Thanks for the sub, Coach Schreier. Yeah, so that's really cool because like, and have you noticed that? I mean, obviously there's some big names playing in these tier two tournaments as well. Cloud9 Amateur is a big one. Evil Genius and Prodigy. So those are teams I've kind of worked with at the LCS and Academy level.
Mhm.
Have you seen that in the last year or so? It's kind of gotten more involvement from the LCS teams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nice to see all the different orgs joining in, having an amateur roster,
Hmm.
because I mean, it's a really nice way to just get new players and really have access to talent that, I mean, you get the players before the other orgs if they're on your amateur team, right?
Right.
So it's just an
Yeah.
advantage.
And
We saw with 100 Thieves, like 10V and Tenacity did really, really good.
yeah,
They got
yeah.
promoted.
And they definitely, I think it really helps to be in a team environment prior to jumping into an actual academy or
Yeah.
LCS team because that's one of the biggest things for me is that the way that Riot set up solo queue to get to challenger and to get to these upper levels and then jump onto a pro team, there's no transition point. Like you don't it's really really difficult for like even the top 10 challenger players to jump straight onto a team and do well because
Mhm.
it's a totally different environment. You have to play around your team. You might be weak side just because, and
Yeah.
so
You have to adapt to your situation basically.
yeah,
Because a lot
yeah.
changes in like comp matches compared to solo queue, obviously.
So what kind of resources does your team provide you with? Do you guys have access to any like physical therapy or mental health or psychology or anything like that?
Not really. I
Okay.
mean, since we're all like remote and online, we're just playing the game basically.
Yeah, and then is that something that you've looked into as a professional?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I haven't done anything like that, but I think it's worth it for teams, especially if you're like local and all your players are together
Yeah.
to do things like that.
Yeah. I've definitely made a point in a lot of conversations I've had that I think the sports psychology is oftentimes one of the most underrated components to building a really successful team.
Hmm.
And definitely, I think that improving mentality in a way that's directed is going to help overall. But so in terms of like resources, then obviously you guys aren't getting the same type of financial support that some of these larger orgs are getting. What kind
Yeah.
of challenges does that pose for you as a player?
I mean, I don't think it's that bad
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, like I have the same opportunities to prove myself as
Hmm.
other people do.
Hmm.
So if I do my best and it's better than others, I'm gonna get the results.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Do you so
I
do you
don't
do
really
a
have to compare myself.
yeah, do you do a lot of like self-reflection VOD reviews of yourself, or do you compare yourself
Yeah.
to other VODs of like other pros and look at their pathing and
I mean, I think both are beneficial. I
Mhm.
think watching like scrim games back, if you scrim a lot, is always useful. Like you should rewatch every single scrim game.
Yeah.
But like you also have to watch like pro VODs to just get the like next level, the next step that you have to achieve
Yeah.
and aim for that basically.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's kind of the advice I've gotten too from a lot of pro players is that if you want to get better, you have to watch yourself. And that's really
Yeah.
hard for a lot of people. To
Mhm.
watch yourself objectively and really criticize yourself is like that's tough for some people. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, is that something that you developed on your own, or did you kind of get advice from other people and how you built that program for yourself?
It's kind of like over the years, like learning from experience and having like good coaches in the past that have taught me like a lot about how to view the game and how to like approach team situations and all kinds of things like that.
Mhm.
Like on my own, I couldn't have made it. There's obviously people along the way that have like done a lot for me.
That's awesome. What coach in particular do you think really helped you the most?
For me, I had Artemis when I was
Oh,
at
okay.
Lord's University, and I
Actually,
think he did a
yeah.
lot for me.
Artemis on EG now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Actually, I know him pretty well.
yeah, in my next collegiate team, I had Tails JJ, which is now
Okay.
coaching C9 Amateur.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know him too.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's some names people know,
yeah. That's
and
great.
it's for a reason. Like they're really good at what they do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you been able to play internationally at all? Have you ever gone to like Korea or Europe or?
No, I haven't done anything internationally ever. I
Like
want to
okay,
though.
yeah. Even just to fly out there and do some solo queue though. I think that's something
Yeah,
that a lot of pros really like doing is go to Korea and boot camp for like a few weeks. And it's almost like
yeah,
a vacation slash work vacation. But
yeah. No, I
yeah,
think it's worth it. I would
yeah.
probably do it in EU or Korea if I were to do something internationally.
Do you speak French as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I still speak fluently, so it's easy for me to go there.
Yeah, yeah, and EU's definitely. I mean, they've really come up. EU West is
Yeah,
a very very competitive circuit now, so that's really
yes.
cool.
Mhm.
So I guess in terms of your physical preparation, though, do you do anything exercise wise? What's your sleep schedule like?
I mean, for me, I try to keep a good sleep schedule, but like with scrims going late and all that stuff, it's hard. I
Hmm.
try to go to bed before 1 a.m. like every night at least,
Hmm.
and then wake up before like 10 a.m.
Okay.
So like, because I think staying towards like those hours and having like a normal sleep schedule is just it's healthier. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I have more energy in the day if I sleep well. So
Absolutely. I mean,
I try to focus
there's
on it.
so much research about that. Getting 7 to 8 hours is so beneficial for your brain, and League especially. It's just one of those games where it's so mental. It's very much a brain oriented task.
Yeah, you have
Um,
to be focused.
yeah,
So
and I'm sure you've been there too, where you're exhausted. Maybe it's your sixth
yeah,
or seventh game in a row, and you're just like not all there, and you just kind of don't
mhm,
play well, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint why.
yeah.
A lot of times that's that fatigue level. So, what about activity wise? Do you have a regular workout plan, or do you just kind of do general exercise?
I've kind of fallen off during COVID, but I used to go to the gym every single day
Okay,
and do 45 minutes of weightlifting basically every day,
that's
and
great.
that's what I did.
Okay,
I've like slumped during COVID, but I've gone back recently, and
okay, yeah.
yeah,
And have you ever had any issues due to gaming, like any sort of pain or any sort of injuries, nothing like that?
no,
Okay,
no.
good.
I mean, I use the gym to like correct, like if my posture is bad when I'm playing, for example, like I'll do like exercise at the gym that can complement my posture,
That's
and then
perfect. That conceptually,
fix the
that's
problems.
100% like what I try to get players to do is that if you see yourself in these certain positions all day, your exercises should be based around trying to get yourself out of those positions.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's great. You're actually kind of treating yourself. You're putting yourself in the best
Mhm.
possible position. Do you do any cardiovascular exercise or running or anything like that?
Occasionally, not every day, but once every couple days, yeah, I bike or like rowing at the gym.
That's great. Those actually, I think rowing. That's a great point. Rowing, I think, is one of the best forms of exercise for esports athletes, and the reason for that is
Hmm.
you're doing a lot of pulling motions. So you're actually again working those postural muscles and cardiovascular fitness. It's definitely cardio. Has been shown to improve how fast your brain works, reflexes, your ability to cognitively problem solve faster. So that's actually great. That's really really good.
And I think the other thing I like about it is that any back exercises basically like open up like your shoulders,
Exactly.
as you've been showing, like
Yeah.
backwards and opening up when most people are just like caving in while
Yeah.
aiming.
The
So it just
worst
does
thing,
opposite.
the worst thing I see is when gamers just go in, they just want to bench press all day because it just
Yeah,
reinforces all this stuff. Like,
yeah. They
pulls
only
everything
go
forward.
forward.
Yeah. That's really good. You're actually on top of that. What did you study in school?
I study business and marketing.
Okay.
That's still what I'm doing now.
Okay. Awesome. Have you thought about applying that in esports at all, or are you planning on working in the gaming industry beyond being a pro?
I've considered being a coach, but that's not really what my major is leading towards. For right
Hmm.
now, I'm just kind of majoring and playing League at the same time, and then we'll see what happens after.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean you're in that perfect age range where you might as well see how far you can get with the competition now. Play to the best of your
Yep.
ability, and at some point maybe that transitions to another part of your career. So that's really cool. You have a good backup. Is that something that you see is more common now? Is that players are actually finishing college and stuff like that?
I don't know if it's more common, but it should definitely be.
Yeah.
Because I think anybody that has like the opportunity to go to collegiate or just do like community college while playing amateur or something like that,
Hmm.
I think it's just a great opportunity to just do two things at once.
Yeah.
And the schedule on both isn't too restricting, so you can do everything at the same time.
I totally agree. I mean, there's a lot of benefits both ways. One, obviously, you get a college degree, which is always going to be helpful in the future. And two, by playing on a college team, it might actually help you transition to playing on a pro team at some level because you get that coaching, you get that team atmosphere, like you get integrated into a team. I think that's really important
Yep.
because I think with team scouting that's one of the biggest issues sometimes is they're not sure about how this player is going to fit into a roster. You might have a
Yeah.
solo queue god who just doesn't know how to actually play with other people, and
Yeah.
that's not very helpful. So
Yeah, I mean, for me, collegiate has worked, right? Like
yeah.
the names I dropped, like Artemis and
Yeah.
Tails, I mean, they made it and I met them in collegiate. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's
there's good
awesome.
people along the way.
What school did you go to when you played?
I played on Lord's University and Harrisburg University.
Harrisburg. Okay, yeah, Harrisburg's been doing really well in the LoL scene.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, they're big name in collegiate.
Yeah. So yeah, what's your next event then? If I think this one just ended, right? So today.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're playing Golden Guardians Academy tomorrow, actually,
Oh,
for
nice.
Cup. So that's gonna
Okay.
be pretty hype for us.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen those players online as well, just in solo queue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Rose Thorn. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, Rosethorn and Yunbi were playing in last SGC, right? So
yeah, yeah.
I was just facing them.
Actually, I chatted with Rose Thorn for a little bit. I didn't know that he
Yeah.
played on a laptop for most of his career.
Really, I didn't know that
That's
either.
actually crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a nice guy, really good guy.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So you're actually going head to head with him directly, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. We're facing tomorrow.
Yeah. What time is that?
It's at ADST. I believe it's being streamed by Cup
Okay,
on
I'm gonna have
Challenger
to.
Uprising.
I'm definitely have to drop in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've actually really enjoyed this season watching a lot of the amateur stuff in the prelude to LCS starting. Like, there's been some really, really
Yeah.
good matches. And I really like that you guys play so many games, actually. That's kind of been one of the
Yeah.
criticisms of the Academy program is that, Academy plays like a quarter of the number of games that amateur plays,
Yeah.
which kind of seems counterintuitive. I'd love to see best of series between more of these organizations.
Yeah, and I mean, there's gonna be more games for Academy teams during the Tier 1 tournaments, right?
Mhm.
And then during the Proving Grounds as well.
Yeah, I really like that they're doing the best amateur team then plays Academy like at the end too. That's a really
Yeah, yeah.
cool setup that they're doing. Yeah. And then so yeah, let's also talk a little about like have you ever I guess thought about how you would like to maybe what would you change about the actual system that you're in now? Like what would you change about the industry if you could change one thing?
I mean, I think the Proving Ground system itself is actually quite good. Like,
Hmm.
there's been drama and things, but honestly, like, I've enjoyed playing in it,
Yeah.
and I think it's been much better than last year. So
Yeah.
for Proving Grounds, like, I wouldn't change anything right now.
Okay. That's yeah. I think it's really helped with developing the talent because I think that's always been the big talking
Yep.
point, right? Is NA able to develop talent, or are we all just going to be streamers? Like that's kind of
Yeah.
that's the common misconception. But I think that there's a lot of push now to really make the competitive scene at the amateur level all the way up to be much more inclusive and have everyone actually work to get better. I think that's one of the worst things about me like playing in solo queue is that you probably half my games you get a couple players who just literally don't care. Like,
Yeah, they don't want to try.
yeah, they're not even trying to even win like one little thing, and it's like, man, just work on improvement a little bit. It's more fun
Yeah.
for everyone if you actually try.
Yep.
But do you have any tips for like low elo players who want to get to your level or how to climb better?
I mean, that's always an awkward question because like I have the mechanical skill knowledge I have, so I can't like give that to someone. Otherwise, they'd be like high elo. But basically, it's just like, I mean, just do your best, right? Like, compare yourself to pros, watch yourself, like the same things I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
I'm not doing anything different from anyone else that's improving.
that's
Like,
true.
watch your own VODs, watch pro VODs.
Yeah,
There's no secret.
that's true. And then maybe if you don't have the mechanics, don't play Yasuo, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, play to your play style.
Yeah.
Play what you like.
Yeah, so I was talking to one of the Vigar actually, and I think my favorite piece of advice that he gave was, if you're not playing to be competitive, right? If you're not trying to go pro, just play what you like to play and get really good at that champion, because
Yeah.
you can get to challenger with basically any champion if you're really that good with it. It's possible. So,
Yep.
I mean, if you think about advice for like solo queue and all that, like how do you keep your mental in place? Obviously it's very different than when you're through team. When you're
Mhm.
solo queuing, like how do you actually make that a productive session for you?
I mean, for me, I just turn chat off. Like, my chat feature is just not on because I feel like typing to other people never gets anything done, like
Yeah,
nothing productive.
that's
So
also,
I just,
yeah, that's been universal from everyone I've talked to too.
yeah, like I just play the game and like I watch the VODs and I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, like I'm gonna do my best to win and I'm gonna do my best to learn,
yeah.
and that's the best I can do.
Do you watch a lot of other regions like LCK or LPL?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's
I
your
watch more other regions than NA, honestly.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually very common.
Yeah.
Most people are watching a lot of LPL or LCK just because they're kind of
Yeah.
playing at the highest point of league right now. It looks like.
hmm
Are there what teams do you like specifically?
I mean, Dem one's the obvious one, right? Like,
Hmm.
I think Canyon's insane for jungle,
Yeah.
but I've been enjoying watching the LFL actually, the French
Oh.
league in Europe,
Okay.
because I think it's more comparable to NA, like low LCS or academy.
Hmm.
So I think it's a more achievable goal, and I mean, I think it's just more applicable in a lot of ways,
Actually,
because
yeah, that
the
makes sense.
best players in the world are gonna be too good for me to like copy.
That's really interesting because I kind of feel the same way watching like LCS, Like with my skill level, watching these pro players do the things that they do makes me have really false expectations for what to expect in my solo queue games.
Yep.
When I see someone insta lock in Aurelia top, I'm like, oh man, she's gonna run it down. Like it's gonna be so
Yeah,
bad.
it's not gonna be the highlight plays that you see
No.
by good players in LCS.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of interesting that you're saying that that even exists at the pro level. Where like, okay, if you watch a lot of LCK, yes, I mean you can learn a lot from their macro decisions. You can learn a lot from how they interact with their champions. But in your situation, it almost feels like, well, you get more information out of watching something closer to your skill level that might be a little bit better, and then you can learn from that, right? Okay, that's super interesting.
Yeah, especially because when you're watching VODs, like either your own or someone else's,
Hmm.
you're looking for mistakes.
Mm,
So if you find mistakes in what they're doing, you can even go a step further after that.
got it.
Because if you find all the right answers when you're watching VODs, you're gonna end up knowing like the most that you could.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the problems of watching a lot of the streamers when they put these highlight tutorial videos up. It's them having an awesome game and popping off. And
Yep.
I actually don't learn very much from that because I'm like, you basically crushed your lane at 3 minutes and then you
hmm
rotated everywhere. Everyone was winning everywhere. Like that doesn't, it's not hard to win those
Yeah.
games. Um,
Especially when it's on like Smurf accounts. Like they're
yeah,
just playing in like low diamond or something. I'm
yeah,
just like, these people shouldn't be making these mistakes. So
right,
how can I learn?
right, absolutely. And do you stream it all or no?
I stream sometimes. I'm very inconsistent,
Mhm.
but sometimes I do have a Twitch channel.
Okay. I have heard I've heard a lot of pro players actually find streaming very distracting. Because a lot of times your solo queue is supposed to be directed at practice, and if you're streaming, it's like you can't really focus on your game, or you end up doing things that your chat will rip you. I've heard it's like a very tilting thing to actually stream your gameplay because it's not practice anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that bad, but
Hmm.
it is harder to focus if you're streaming and especially if you're talking to your chat and all that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I mean, that is like a reason I don't stream as much is because I do play better off stream, right?
Yeah.
As most people do.
Right. Yeah. And then who do you think is let's talk about do you think Canyon is the best jungler in the world right now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Watching his path. Like, so if you're a jungler, I guess we'll talk a little bit specifically on jungle itself. If you're a jungler and let's say you get invaded or you get put behind a little bit, how do you play that game out? Like, how can you even.
I mean, all right. I mean, the first thing is like preventing your mistakes, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I've gotten very good at just not getting cheesed. Because
Got
there's
it.
a lot of things that people can do, like even level 1 in a game, that can mess you over. If you're aware of it, you can avoid it. But I
Right.
mean, if you do fall behind, at the end of the day, it's like your win condition, enemy win condition.
Mhm.
How can you achieve yours before theirs, right?
Mhm. Do you do a lot
So,
of times? Do you study a lot in terms of like looking at the specific numbers, the patch updates, all that stuff, like figuring out
uh,
like win
a bit.
conditions? Yeah.
I look at win rates and I look at stats from items a lot, but not too much. I spend more time on like theoretical, like macro plays and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Is that more the coach's job then to kind of give you guys like the update on like this is what's
Ye-
strong or
Yeah, I mean, you get a feel for it once you play more solo queue. Like, if a new patch comes out and you play 10 solo queue games that day, you're gonna like feel the difference already.
got it? Okay. Who's your favorite jungler right now to play?
Probably Lilia. I think
Really?
Lilia is really OP. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can see it. Her kit is broken on paper. Like you look at it
Yep.
and you're like, that's actually insane for team fighting. But yeah. I mean, it's also interesting that every region is prioritizing different champions. Because
Yep.
like LCK right now loves Samira, and in LCS you barely ever see her. But
Yeah, there's a lot of Kaisas. I mean, there's
yeah,
Kaisas everywhere though,
yeah,
but
yeah, she's really good right now too. Um, yeah. So okay, yeah, that's super interesting that you have kind of a different take on how to self progress. Your coaching now, is it more revolving around like your team in terms of okay, this is how we want to play these objectives out, or do you still get any sort of individual type role coaching?
I get some individual notes, but it's mostly like team stuff. Like,
Okay.
but it's a lot of like, what do you do for the team? So it is like individual by nature because it's what you should do,
Hmm.
but it is for the good of the team usually.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think right now, especially with jungle being such a strong position,
Yep.
it seems like a lot of team comps and a lot of team direction is focused around what is the jungle doing in this game, and
Yep.
how does it influence everything else. So, yeah, really interesting. Yeah, me, I think Maya knows you apparently.
Someone knows me.
Yeah, someone in my chat said Yami. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for him while I'm here, or we can actually kind of move on to some of the other stuff? All right, we'll wait for them to respond. But
Yep.
yeah, I like that you're kind of you have this very I guess you're self progressing your own career, which is really interesting. I think that's a little bit different than some of the people I've worked with on LCS teams, where a lot of stuff is kind of like the coaches will tell them to do something, the psychologist tells them to work on something. I tell them to physically do something. I think you're coming at it from perspective like you're doing things that you are aware that you need and actually improving on your own, which is really interesting. Have you always been like that growing up and all that? Like, were you a very self-directed
Uh,
person?
Not really. Honestly, it was quite the opposite. Like I've been like it's been hard for me to just like follow a strict like way of doing things basically and like basically working hard. Like I didn't work very hard in school and
Mhm.
all that, so I didn't know how to work hard until I got my shit together basically.
At what point did you decide like I want to actually pursue going pro?
Uh I'm not sure. I think it's like the, like as I kept increasing in rank, right? It's like, oh, maybe I could. Maybe I should try. And
Yeah.
then it's like I'm trying and then it's like how close am I getting?
you
And it's
just
always like the next step basically.
you kind of just fell into it because you're already beating pros right online and stuff, and you're like,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
kind of just see what the next step is. That's interesting too.
I mean, at some point I did like start taking it seriously,
Yeah.
but I was playing like in amateur long before I even like hoped of going pro.
Hmm.
I was just playing to play the game because I mean, at the end of the day, like I love League of Legends. Like
Hmm.
this game is sick. I want to keep playing it.
Yeah,
So
I find it fascinating. It's like it's one of the few games where you can really feel like you made progress even just by thinking about the game. And I think
Yeah.
that's really interesting. It's so mental. And every time you learn something new, it translates into the game, and it's like noticeable how much better you play. I find it really encouraging in some ways, but it's also frustrating because you
Yeah.
hit those plateaus where you're like, man, I suck. Like, I just can't climb today. Today's been like that for me. So,
Yeah,
but,
there's some days like that.
yeah. Um, do you play any other games?
I play some other games for fun. Like I've been playing Risk of Rain 2 more recently.
Hmm.
There's an update coming out, so I'm getting pretty hyped.
Okay.
But overall, I don't play many other games like apart from League.
It's like usually as a break from League or.
Yeah, break from League, just like relax, play with friends,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff.
Okay. That's cool. And then if you were to, I guess, tell yourself something from 4 years ago when you just started, what would you tell yourself?
Just to work hard, honestly. There's no secret at the end of the day. Just work as hard as you can, and if you think you can do better, you can do better. Like,
Yeah, it's motivational. That's good. Okay, well, hey, I really appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me in terms of exercises you can do, stuff like that, good habits?
oh, do you have like wrist exercises? Like,
Yeah.
what would you recommend for like just maintaining healthy wrists? Because I know I've had like some issues, nothing like serious, but just like I do stretches and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's definitely a few things you can work on first. I really like that your exercise program now, when you can get back in the gym and all that, is working on a
Hmm.
lot of retraction type exercises. Those pulling motions are really, really
Yep.
good to keep your posture good. In terms of wrist movement, it kind of depends. So, one concept I like to stress with people is that mobility is good. And so, when you
Yep.
play League, you end up playing in these positions where you're barely moving for hours at a time. So
Yep.
in between each game, you want to go through full range of motion. So the first one I have people do is like a full range of motion movement of their fingers and wrists. And this might actually feel kind of difficult. You can see that your wrist doesn't extend back very far,
Yeah.
right? And that's usually weakness of this muscle or excessive tightness of this muscle.
Yeah,
It's called
because
the
it gets
extensor.
tense here.
Yeah.
So.
So one thing you can also do is a stretch like this. This one is what I call the league stretch because every single league player has overactivity of these extensor muscles. You want to
Hmm.
loosen those up, and then you can try this again. And actually, what'll help you really in the long term is strengthening these muscles. So if
Hmm.
you have a light dumbbell or something, you can do like a reverse grip curl like that,
Yep.
right? That'll actually build up some of the
It's
endurance.
just forearm strength.
Yeah, exactly. Forearm strength is very, very important, especially of these top forearm muscles. That's basically what lifts your finger every time you click. And so in
So
League, oh yeah, go on.
do you recommend like grip training as well then? Like
Um,
climbing and stuff like that and just training grip to like have just force like in the
yes,
wrist?
I do with a couple exceptions. So climbing's great because climbing again reinforces a lot of the posture muscles. The
Yep.
downside of climbing is that it reinforces grip strength this way, meaning the flexors. So that's actually this part of your arm. So the
Okay.
ability for you to close your hand like this.
Yeah.
What I see more of an issue with is the extensor side. So what allows you to go like this.
Okay.
These
Yeah, makes
muscles,
sense.
yeah, these muscles tend to be really weak. So you can actually put your hand on your desk and practice just lifting your hands with your fingers.
Hmm.
And that'll actually help build up some of the strength here. And then you'll actually notice that your range of motion, as it gets stronger, will get better and better.
Yeah,
Ideally,
so
you
you can
can,
just keep like bending further
you
basically.
want to try to get to 90 degrees. And actually, most players I see, if they're really weak, they'll get to like 45. And so
Okay, yeah.
that's one of the things you can work on. If
Hmm.
you have any exercise bands at home, I do a lot of like resisted rotations, that kind of stuff, kind of pulling the wrist in different directions. What that does is it strengthens the wrist all around. So if you think about the four directions the wrist can go up, it can go down, it can go side to side. It can also go
Yep.
in between those. So if you have a band, you can actually work on the strength in each of those directions to build up stability there.
That's
Uh,
really cool.
yeah, the biggest thing though is really keeping that full range of motion.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
these, especially for if you play high mechanical champions, getting your fingers to actually move fluidly is really important. I'm sure. Have you? I mean, you're in. Are you in Canada or?
No, I'm in the US. I'm in the
Oh, okay.
Boston area.
Oh, Boston. Okay, so it's cold. You've woken
It's
up.
really cold. There was a snowstorm today.
So when you wake up and it's freezing cold, you know how hard it is, right, to actually have
Yeah.
mechanics. A lot of that stiffness in your fingers, one, warming up your hands physiologically will help, meaning that you open and close them a lot, try to get blood flow into your fingers, and then two, getting those tendons to work really smoothly is going to improve your finger speed as well. So you can use hand warmers. You see a lot of people do that, but it doesn't beat actually getting blood flow into your fingers to get those muscles warmed up. So especially when it's cold, it's important that you warm up before you play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Beyond that, I recommend doing regular stretches for like the traps. So you can do things like this.
Yeah, the head and then like the arm and stuff too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Everything, the thing is to keep in mind, there's not like one perfect stretch you need or one perfect position that you should be in. I don't stress posture all that much actually, because even if I had perfect posture, if I play with perfect posture for 8 hours, my back is going to be killing me at the end of that 8 hours.
Yeah.
What I try to tell people is have good posture when you play, but then in between each game, you need to be moving through full range of motion. You need to give your back a break in each section by moving around as much as you can and then come back to it. So with League, it's easy because you have these set intervals. I try to tell everybody, in League, after you do champ select, right, you're in the loading screen. That's your chance to do a few stretches. Kind of mentally and physically reset yourself, get ready for the game. You finish that 30, 40 minutes, and then after that, you do it again. And if you can do that from game 1, then by the time you finish game 6 or game 7, you're actually still feeling pretty fresh.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Like, I think it's always like you should always like walk around, like get some fresh air after a game, just anything to just be up and about, basically.
And I think that really helps with the mental too. Even games I win, I'm usually tempted, I'll just hit Q again. And I find that a lot of times what happens is I go in these win patterns of like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And it's really frustrating. And then you kind of want to keep going. I think what a lot of pros have told me too is like, if you just get up and walk for 10 seconds and come back, it almost feels like you're wipe that one off and you're just going to focus on this one. So
absolutely.
I definitely stress that as well. Having physical breaks helps the mental break as well.
Yeah.
But I think, you're doing a great job with all the other stuff. I think sleep, sounds like it's on point, 7 hours ish. Drink a lot of water.
Got it right here.
Yeah, I know. I've been watching you drink water. That's great. The other thing is vision health. So if you ever get to the point where you feel like your eyes are burning because you're staring at your computer so long, try looking away as far away as you can and blink like 20 times. What that does is it actually allows the muscles in your eye to relax a little bit and focus on something far away. And then when you come back and by blinking, you're re-moisturizing your eyes. You can actually play with much better clarity. So eye strain is, because what happens is as your eyes get strained, you'll see people start to lean closer and closer to their screen.
Yeah.
And that's to compensate for those muscles getting tired. So when the muscles get tired, you get more and more narrow vision or close vision. And then so you have to lean closer to keep focusing.
Yeah.
So definitely something to pay attention to. Yep. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. I wish you the best of luck getting to Proving Grounds again and making it big. Hopefully I see you in the Academy or LCS stage soon.
Very soon. You will see. I mean, I'm going to get the Academy team tomorrow already. So
we're there. Hey, good luck. I love Rose Thorn, but I hope you do well as well.
I hate to do it to him.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to definitely try to tune into that match. Is it a best of 3?
It's a best of 3, I believe. Yeah.
Awesome. I like that so much more. I wish the LCS Academy would go to that because it's just so much more entertaining. You can actually, try different compositions out, not feel like you just inted because you guys made a bad pick or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the thing we were talking about earlier. You just get a lot more games, a lot more practice.
Yeah.
And that's what they changed this season for the formatting for Proving Grounds and LCS, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're doing better.
I think it's great.
Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. I think that lock-in tournament was super fun to watch. It made it a much more interesting storyline. So
there were some really hype series there too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a Cloud9 fan obviously, but like that Cloud9 100 Thieves series was just a banger. Like
the
reverse sweep.
Yeah.
But hey, I really appreciate you taking the time. Love to chat again at some point, and good luck this season.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Have a good rest of your night.
All right. I'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Cool. All right. Hey, well, thank you all for dropping in for that interview with Hyami. Really, really cool guy. So he's been playing amateur for a while and is hoping to make it to LCS and Academy at the next level. Wish him the best. And we'll be doing something soon. Next week, I will be doing a really, really interesting... Actually, wait, no. I'm sorry. Next week is Valentine's Day. I will not be doing that stream next week. The week after, on. Okay, so yeah, no, next week we have a break. The 21st, I'll be doing an interview with Edward Cleland, who is the performance mental health coach for 100 Thieves. That's going to be a really, really good one. If you guys can drop in for that conversation, I think that's going to be one of the top ones for this year, I think. He's a super interesting guy. He's got a really, really interesting mentality towards performance, health, and wellness. We're going to get into some philosophical stuff. He's really good. So definitely catch that one. It's going to be the 21st. And all right, thanks again for dropping in. Hope to see you all soon. Thank you, Coach Dreyer, for the sub. I will see you all at the next one. Have a good night.